As a mastering engineer, one of my main tools is a limiter. Now, the reason I need a limiter is because I need to get things loud. I need to get them loud in a way so they still sound open, they still sound dynamic, but they're loud enough to play through speakers and sound brilliant. So I want super clean limiters. I want ones that aren't going to hold the sound back too much. I want them to be dynamic, but I want them to be able to push them so they can go loud. So today I'm reviewing the Dmg Limitless limiter. So let's dive into the computer. I'll show you how I use it. This is the DMG Audio Limitless limiter. So you need a PhD in limiting if you get too involved with this in manual mode with all the different options and different setup strategies that you can do. So I just don't get involved in a lot of that, to be fair. And I try and set limiters up as easily as possible. Now, this does have an area where you can make it into a dynamic EQ, but I really want to get that kind of stuff done before I get into my limiter. I've got other dynamic EQs, so if I want to use a dynamic EQ, then I'll do it there. So let me just show you how I usually set this up in the same way that I set most limiters up. As in the FabFilter Pro-L, which is the kind of standard. So let's sort of go against that. So I have a threshold here that is basically the amount of level I want to push into it. So minus 10.5 I've got going on here. And then I always have a ceiling of about minus 0.1. And then I'm listening as I'm going to the release time. And on here, you can just, on this section here, the style, you can change similar to the Pro-L, where you can change aggressive, punchy. And these things will adjust all the different settings in the bottom. So it changes the release times and the attack times and stuff. They're called different things in here. They're called, if we go into here, you've got different look aheads and knees and weighting and the dynamics. So dynamics is a difference between the two limiters they have in here. But this video isn't really about getting into the detail of everything that this does. I mean, go and watch an instructional video for that, because that's not what I'm about. I'm just here to show you exactly how I use this. So I would use it mainly in aggressive or punchy mode, because this way it doesn't take too much off here and it keeps it nice and fast. So when I've got a track playing, I can then hear it quite loud. So what I like is I can try these different styles, which obviously then, so as you can see, that's one of the annoying things about when you change any of this stuff in here, when you select them, it changes resets everything. So it resets the screen size, it resets all of these thresholds and ceilings, which is a pain in the arse, to be honest, because I just want to hear the difference in the different in these different setups. In the same way that I do it here, it won't change any of that. It just changes this stuff. The threshold for me is kind of always going to be the same, whatever setup I use. So like, for instance, just done that again. So it's just really annoying. So let's just move that in again and put it back where it was so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm not using any clipping on this. I don't use the dither. As I say, I want to do that in other software that I've got more control on. I just want to use this for limiting. And so I'll add as much limiting as I want from the threshold until it starts sounding that it's sort of breaking up. And then I'll put the ceiling's always at 0.1, and then I'll play around with the release and the styles to then get a sound for what I'm doing. So, I mean, this is quite handy in the way that obviously the more you push into a limiter, the bass is going to has got more energy than the rest of the track, as you can see from the spectral graph at the top. So basically you can do it differently so that it's sort of balancing it out again afterwards, but it does change the balance of the mix, and I don't really want to change the balance of the mix because when I EQ into a limiter. So I'm kind of adjusting for this before I get to this. I don't want to have to make my judgments in the limiter. I want to make them before I get to the limiter. So if I need to add more bass so that I've got more bass coming into this so that and then balances out, that's what I'll do. So for me, I'm not really into all of this stuff. I'd rather use it as a separate thing if that's what I want to use. If I want to use a dynamic EQ, then I'll use a dynamic EQ. How does it sound is what you want to know. I love the sound of it. It's really clean. It's really clear. I think it's great from the sound. It's a really good limiter. It sounds as good as the Pro-L, if not better, on some music. So it's definitely worth a listen. Now, I've got one of Matt's tracks here that I'm playing in the background. So what I'll do is I've set the Pro-L up so it's exactly the same as this. So it's got kind of standard settings of plus 10.5 on the gain input. The release is quite quick, attack time. It's kind of an all-round setting. So that's the kind of standard setting that I use. So I've done the same similar setup here with the DMG. So what I'll do is I'll have the two playing at the end. We'll cut between the two so you can hear the difference and judge for yourself how it sounds. But I think you'll be impressed. It sounds nice to my ear, and I think it's just really track dependent on using this or the Pro-L. So yeah, if you want to get into all these functions, obviously go for it. But for me, I just want to use it as a straightforward limiter and just use it so it's quick, easy, and I can get on with stuff. And if I want to think about doing anything else, I'll just use another process before I get to my limiter. So that's how I use the DMG Limitless. I'm now going to show you the clips of Matt, my assistant's track, with the Pro-L with the same settings and this limitless, so you can decide for yourself the difference between the two on this track. There you have it. That's the DMG Limitless. I hope you like that limiter. It's a belter. Let me know how you're using it and any tips and tricks you have for me. I'm always willing to learn new stuff. So thanks for watching. Till next time. Goodbye.